welcome to today's Link Talks podcast. We're on part 2 of Health Matters, and we're talking today with Pastor Robert Trice from Relevent Church here in Grand Rapids, and Pastor Ross Scheer from Big Rapids, Res Life Church in Big Rapids. And so we kind of covered in part 1 a lot of topics, but when we concluded our conversation, we realized we left out probably the most important topic when it comes to health, and that's our marriages.
Yeah.
Marriages, not only on the senior pastor level, but marriages throughout our staff, throughout our volunteers, and throughout our congregation. Sad note is that in many Christian circles, the divorce rate among Christians is just as high as it is in the secular market. So let's talk a little bit about, Ross, how do you keep your marriage healthy?
Yeah, I think the reason that this is such an important topic is it's one of the main avenues the devil's going to attack to try to destroy not just you, but your church and the people. And you know, when a pastor's marriage goes south and falls apart, it's not like his church members question just his marriage. It's suddenly like everything he's ever taught is now under scrutiny. And the thing is, the Bible, the truth is still the truth, right? But this is an area where so many pastors fail or fall apart. For me, for my wife and I, our marriage is our priority. And we put some rules in place in our life from the beginning that are like, we will not compromise our marriage for our ministry.
Yep.
And so I've got a whole laundry list of different things that we've put in place for us, but the biggest thing and the easiest way to say it is margin. We've made a point to set aside time that is dedicated to her and I in our relationship that has nothing to do with ministry, and even doesn't have to do with our kids, right? Family is important. Obviously, it's all part of it, but our marriage has to be number one.
Yeah, the kids graduate out of the house and you're left with your spouse.
Mm-hmm.
Robert, talk to us a little bit from your vantage point. How do you guys keep things healthy?
I think the name of the game is be intentional.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I first got married, I had a couple guys who were mentors to me, who spoke into my life and spoke into my marriage. And I would not be married today if it wasn't for them. Because in the beginning, when things are tough, if I didn't have them to correct me and help me along the way, I probably would have quit because life was tough. You know, marriage is difficult. It's not easy. And the name of the game is intentional. And I would say me and my wife, we love each other and we are intentional about, hey, we're in this thing together and we're going to figure it out no matter what. So you got to have the right person. But when you said I do, that's the right person. You're in it. Yeah. And I would say just work on yourself. You're never going to have a good marriage or a healthy marriage. You have to make it a good marriage. You have to make it a healthy marriage. It's the work that you put into it. Yep. When I cut the grass, when I used to cut the grass, I always listened to marriage books. I don't know why. It just became a thing. So I listened to my marriage books whenever I cut the grass. So when I was cutting the grass, I generally came back in and more locked in to be a better husband.
So Latricia had you mowing the grass 3 times a week.
Yeah, I didn't tell her in the beginning, but it's just one of those things. You gotta seek help.
Yeah.
I know so many people we're calling it quits and be like, you haven't done any of the work. You haven't done any counseling. You haven't done any of the things necessary to actually have a good marriage. You're not going to have a good marriage all by yourself. You have to have seasoned married people who've been there, done that, who have permission to speak into your life and to help you through the rough patches.
Yeah. You know, I don't think we realize how much the marriage ceremony really implicates how to have a successful marriage. And that is, we always quote the scripture that you'll leave your father and your mother and you'll cleave to your wife, right? Mm-hmm. But then it says, these two shall become one. Mm-hmm. And we miss out on the part shall become. Mm-hmm. Okay?
It is a have become.
It's not a have become. It's just because you said I do doesn't mean it's over, right? Shall become, because there are different seasons in marriage. Mm. And in each season, you've got to become one in that season in order for your marriage to be healthy and to survive. So when you first get married, you know, you're bringing 2 cultures together, right? and in that season, there's a little dynamic tension. What's some of that? What'd that look like for you guys? That those early stages that you were in that dynamic tension of bringing two histories together.
Yeah, me and my wife are both very strong personalities. My wife's a type A personality. She had just graduated from Michigan State University. She is a ambitious go-getter. And I know who I married. I knew who she was, and I've always been very supportive of her career aspirations and things like that. And you don't really know who you are until you get married. Because there are things that come to the surface about yourself that you're like, I didn't know that was in me. Or things that bother you and things like that. And oftentimes what married people tend to do is start telling their spouse about themselves. And the truth of the matter is, I believe God's revealing things to you that you need to work on. Yep. You know, let's say my wife does something and it bothers me in some kind of way. She doesn't necessarily have to know it bothered me. Sometimes I got to ask myself, why does that bother me? Mm-hmm. How come she is not free to be herself authentically and in a free way? She's not intentionally trying to bother me. I have to figure out, why does that bother me? And let me heal. Yeah. Let me figure out what's in my past and what have I dealt with to where a simple statement or a simple conversation can fly me off the rails or cause me to whatever, have emotions that I didn't know were there.
Yeah, I think for us the biggest thing was we had never like did the 5 love languages or anything like that. That was super eye-opening.
That's like 10 years in.
The first couple of years of our marriage, it was great by most, I think any standards, but there was turmoil in different situations, and then we did the 5 love languages test, and I found out that my wife was quality time. So everybody's different, right? Everybody's got different love languages, but quality time means that you need to spend time with them that matters. And so I was spending time elsewhere, but then I was coming home thinking, because I'm like a gifts guy. Gifts was a thing for me.
Giving gifts. And
I'd show up with her favorite dessert or flowers or this or that, and she about drop them in the trash. And I'm like, what gives? I can't figure this out. And once I figured out the quality time thing, it was like my whole way of showing her that I loved her changed, and it changed so much for us. And now we focus so much onto that. We're really intentional about quality time together. My parents are totally different. It's funny with them. Like they're independent. Like quality time, they love time together, but it's not a priority. Like they're good doing whatever they want, and then they're awesome when they're together. Whereas like my wife and I, we don't want to go anywhere without each other. We don't want to do anything alone.
I think the biggest, not the biggest, but a big thing about the love languages is you recognize your love language. Mm-hmm. And what we normally do is we love people how we like to be loved. Mm-hmm. And we're trying to figure out why they're not receiving my love. And when they reject it, we feel rejected, as opposed to finding out, what fills their tank.
Yeah. When Rose and I were married back in the day, we'll be married 50 years, by the way, this May.
Ooh. Awesome. So, that's awesome.
But in those early years,
we praise God for you, Rose.
Yeah, that's right. And seriously, in those first 10 to 15 years, I came from a broken home. My dad was married 3 times. My mom was married 5 times. Wow. I didn't know anything about marriage. I didn't know anything about being a husband. And I was selfish, You can't become one if you're self-focused and self-centered. If it's all about my love language or my needs, my wants, my desires, and Rose kind of followed me around until finally one time, she woke up in bed and she's wondering who this guy is laying next to her. And God speaks to her about loving me unconditionally and about speaking into me what wasn't as though it was. So she started speaking into my life about being a champion, being a husband, being a father, all the things. And at first it just took me off guard, but as she sowed that in, it began to reap a harvest. And I think that's very important as we go into each season, that we understand, if I'm going to make it through this season, I cannot be self-centered. I can't be self-focused. It can't be about me. It's got to be about us. And so for example, like in your case, in that situation, you set boundaries So talk about some of those boundaries that took you through seasons of difficulty.
Oh yeah, I think that when, like for us with quality time, I just realized I couldn't compromise my time with her, because every time I did, it told her that something else mattered more than she did. Yep. And so in our previous podcast, in part 1, we talked about, like Sabbath day. We talked about having days of rest and things like that. And for her and I, we set aside every Friday. That day is for her and I. We drop the kids off at school. We go work out together. We go home. We have a hot tub, by the way. The number one piece of marriage advice that's not biblical is get a hot tub. Put it in a private place in your backyard. Period. Yeah. But then we spend the day together. And people will call and they'll want to do stuff. It always seems like, my buddies will say, hey, I got Friday off. Let's go fish. And I'm like, you're never going to get a Friday from me. Don't ask me again. Yeah. Because that is a day for my wife. And so we did that and of course, before we had kids, we didn't have that pull in our life. Yeah. But as soon as we had our first kid, it was like within the first year, we said we get 2 weeks of vacation at that point. 1 week has always got to be just you and me. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then the other one will have the kids on.
Wow.
And we've kept that. Every year we make sure we get 1 full week of vacation. I'm leaving on Sunday. It's going to be awesome. I don't know when this is going to air, but we're leaving on Sunday to get out of the cold in Michigan. And so, but we don't compromise that.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, we do the same. We vacation together, just us. We always have a vacation where it's just me and her. We do small getaways. Yep. Chicago is close. It's always been a place you can get to real quick. Go do a quick 2-3 day. Just find a place where it can just be us. And you don't have to have an agenda. We just sleep in, nothing to do, how you doing, checking in. And it just goes back to that be intentional piece. And sometimes you can have it planned or it can not be planned, but you have to be sensitive to what's going on to say, hey, we need this right now. Yeah. Sometimes it's a SOS, something's off, and I need to give attention and time to this marriage right now. And it takes a team, because you have to have people that can step in and help and pull up the slack in different areas of your life.
Yep. Growing up, my dad always used to say, he would say it back then, but he says it to me when I got into ministry. He said, people are going to call you on Saturday night or Friday night or whatever, and they're going to say, I need you at my house right now. I'm going through this, or that my marriage is over. And my dad said, your response needs to be, your marriage didn't fall apart in one day, and it's not going to be fixed in 1 minute.
Yeah.
We'll meet on Monday, because I'm not going to let my marriage fall apart.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's
I'm with my family. I'm with my wife. I'm not going there.
Yeah.
I think those boundaries are crucially important, because when you're a pastor, they always need you. They always seem to need you after hours. One of the things that we always do is that, like if I'm working as a pastor throughout the week, I work like 9 to 5 hours. I don't do late night. Very, very seldom will I be meeting with somebody or talking to somebody late in the night. And a buddy of mine helped me with that once, and he said, does your doctor stay after because
that's what I was going to say,
yeah. Or your dentist? Yeah. And it was like, no, respect that I got to go home to my family. My family's the priority. Mm-hmm. So, and when all you guys are gone and I'm not a pastor anymore, it's going to be me and my wife.
Mm-hmm. One of the things I think we need to be cognizant of, again, we're talking a little bit on the senior pastor level, but we have staff that we have to take care of. We have key volunteers that we have to steward their marriages, help them steward their marriages. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's important that these same principles that we're imparting to our team, but we're also empowering our team to live those things out in their own personal life. One of the things that Rose and I have built into our marriage, and it happened after that kind of season of crisis, we almost became a statistic, we probably could have gotten a divorce just as easy as we made it, but thank God for his intervention. But then we came into a season where we found out about doing things called vision retreats. Mm-hmm. And so you talk about doing things intentional. So we started off with just a yearly vision retreat. Now we have vision retreats kind of on-demand vision retreats, because, what is life? What's the rhythm of life that we're living in? Is there a shift? If there's a shift, then maybe we need to take some time and go away, whether it's a day, whether it's 2 days, and let's hear what God's saying. The way that we kind of do it is we focus on what is our topic, what's our mission for that retreat, and then each of us kind of pray about what God's saying to us, and then we come together. We kind of detox. We'll do something fun, go out to dinner, go to a movie, and then we'll start engagement. And when we start engagement, one person shares, the other person listens. Then the other person shares, the other person listens. Then we kind of go detox again, and then we come back and say, okay, what did we hear each other say, and what did we feel like God's saying to us? And then we write down the vision and make it plain. Mm-hmm. So have you guys created any kind of rhythm like that? And if so, kind of how do you do it, and maybe to help people here have something to go on?
Yeah, because I'm in relationship with you, and I've heard you say that several times over the last few years. I'm like, we've adopted that. Awesome. Like I was like, wow, that's amazing. That's what we're missing. Let's do that. So we're very intentional about sitting down and thinking through the year. What does the year look like? Even if it's not a year, what does the next 6 months look like? Yeah. Because I'm the senior pastor. My wife is actually the executive pastor. She also has her own business. We're business owners. We got all these things going, and got to fly and go to this conference and do this and teach and do all these different things. And you got to talk out, what does it look like? What are we doing? You can't just be flying by the seat of your pants, but having it mapped out. We know where we are. We know when we're going to get together and regroup. We know what the plan is. We know what we're doing with the kids. We know what we're doing with the church. And just being intentional about setting that space of time to be able to communicate and get on the same page is hugely important.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, we haven't done like a retreat like that. Pastor John Freak and Carla talked about that at our marriage retreat, the same kind of thing, and a lot of people have adopted that because we set aside every Friday to be just her and I. Yeah. And my wife is a big planner. Like she's working the schedule and the plan. What are we doing? And she's a financial mind when it comes to that stuff. Yeah. And she's a female Dave Ramsey. And so, so we do a lot of that on those Fridays. We spend a lot of time talking and looking out. Okay, look at 6 months from now, a year from now, where do we want to be? I will say it's funny. We got 3 men sitting at the table talking about marriage. Yeah, I'm sure all the wives out there are like, where's the other side of that? But it's because it really just this became out of a talk about health and how important. But men, if you're watching right now, you're the leader of your household. Whoa. You've got to put a focus on your marriage. And from part 1, we talked about how as a lead of a ministry, you really are serving the people under you. Even though you're leading them, you're serving them. I think you've got to have a servant mindset in your marriage and in your family. How am I serving them in a way that's going to lead them to where God wants us to be? And so I know it's a bunch of guys up here, but men, we need to be leading in our marriage.
We have to. We have to make it a priority. Can you imagine your marriage when you and your spouse are simply trying to outserve each other?
Yeah.
Where I'm only focused on how I serve you, how I meet your needs, how you're okay, and not necessarily keeping score of whether or not you're doing it equally as me. I'm just focused on my part. Right. Mm-hmm. Just focusing on my part. Like, it's the idea of marriage is not 50-50.
That's it.
It's 100-100. Because there's going to come a time where you have to give 100%. Yep. Mm-hmm. And there's going to come a time where the table is flipped. And although we're 3 men, there's no women here. I just want to encourage you to make your marriage a priority. Fight for your marriage. Fight for your wife. Fight for your kids. Fight for your legacy. Fight for the stability of your household. Work on yourself. Get the help that you need to be the best version of you. Yep. Communicate better. Listen. I learned.
Listen.
I had to learn.
Listen, man.
My wife was the number one person that got to tell me how good or how bad I was doing as a husband. Yep. Mm-hmm. And not take offense and just listen.
Yeah. If you want the Holy Spirit to speak to you, listen to your wife.
Oh, my Lord.
Because that's God's given her as a gift to you to help you, understand where you're at.
Yeah, I was going to say, pay attention. Pay attention. My wife, like I said, Dave Ramsey, a couple of years ago, she's like, I want to be debt free. I want to do these things. And Dave Ramsey, and I, of course, knew about Dave Ramsey. The Financial Peace University of the church. We didn't attend it, but other people did. And I'm like, you were talking about mowing the grass. And I'm like, okay, I know she's getting passionate about this. I know she's really wanting to see this happen. So every time I mow the grass, I go put on the Dave Ramsey podcast. And I was like, it's not what I wanted to listen to, but I was like, I need to learn these concepts so that we're on the same page, not because it's what I want, but because I know it's a desire of her heart. Yeah. So I paid attention enough to say, I'm going to go learn about this. Yeah. And after listening to it for a while, I was like, you know what? I might not agree with everything he says, but I agree with my wife.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I want at some point, I want to grab hold of the vision she has for our family too, like to do it together.
Yeah. Let's close this segment up with one other aspect, that in order to have a healthy marriage, you have to know how to handle children. Mm-hmm. Or, some people don't have children, okay? Whichever side of the coin you fall on in that issue, you have to navigate the aspect of what legacy is, what your heritage is, and that can weigh heavily in your marriage. Kids pitting mom against dad, or unrealized expectations, stepping into your intimacy time. Those kind of things are real, and they surface in different types of marriages, situations. So what little word of encouragement would you give, and we'll wrap it up with this, word of encouragement that you would give to marriages about, the aspect of kids?
Well, I'd say above everything else, if you and your spouse aren't well, your family's not well.
Yeah.
And so I know, and I've experienced a lot of different married couples who put all their focus on the kids and not themselves, not their relationship. Yep. And listen, the best thing you can do for your children is to be together. Is to put a focus on it. They might be bummed that you're going to Florida without them for a week, but in the end, will be glad that when you're 80 and they have their grandkids, that they're going to visit grandma and grandpa together.
Yeah.
And you won't regret that time with them in the grand scheme of things. And one thing for us, as far as leading our family, we made a commitment that we will never sign up for or get our kids involved with anything that consistently keeps them away from church on Sunday. So sports, activities, extracurriculars, if we know they're going to be scheduled on Sunday mornings, we don't. As a family, we always go to the house of God together.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, when it comes to kids, the way that you love your kids is so strong that if you're not careful, you'll love your kids more than you love anything, and they'll take it.
Yep.
And the way they love you back, you're finally somebody's person. Mm-hmm. And I think I had an unhealthy love for my son, where I had to pause and stop and be like, I love this boy more than I love anything in the world. And I'm like, she gave him to me. That's my wife. Yep. And kids know when they can pit you against one another. Mm-hmm. Kids know when you guys don't agree. And I just want to encourage you, if you have children, you might disagree on some things, but disagree behind closed doors. Yep. But be the unified front in front of your children. Yep. And always set the boundary of, if mom said yes or mom said no, that's what the answer is. Don't ever come and ask me, because that's a no-no. And then let's say mom said no, but you want to say yes. I got to stick with the no and go talk behind closed doors, or not go back and forth. Why'd you say no? Why can't they do this? Now they're like, uh-oh. Yeah. There's division here, yep. and they're hoping dad wins, because that's all they care about is the yes. Yep. They don't know how to build a good and happy marriage.
Yep. Right.
But if you put the work in and let it be made known that we are on the same page. Yep. Me and mom are the same. You're not going to get a different answer from one of us. Yeah. And set that expectation with the kids. It goes a long way.
Yeah. Well, it's been a great conversation today. Health does matter at every level, even with our marriages. And so we hope these few thoughts today have encouraged you and strengthened you, and we want to challenge you to do the things that are necessary. Sometimes we have to, and maybe we take a second here, but sometimes we need outside help.
Yes.
And don't hide your marriage behind closed doors. You know, there has to be an aspect of vulnerability at some level at some point. So I don't know. Take a 30 seconds and talk about that.
There's a lot of resources out there that you can reach out to. If you're struggling in your marriage, don't just be silent and let it go. I could probably say that there's an organization here in Michigan called Winning at Home, Dan Seaborn's ministry, and they're incredible. You go if you are a pastor. Go there, call them. They'll work it out. They'll help you figure the things out that you need to get figured out to get back on track. If you're not the lead pastor in your church, go and seek counsel from the leaders above you. Ask where they think you should go. Just don't be silent and let it go, because it's not going to get better if you just let it keep festering.
You need seasoned married people who are for your marriage.
Yes.
You need seasoned married people who've been married a long time. When you look at their marriage, you look at how they treat each other, you say, I want that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then you allow those people to speak into your life. Whenever I would meet a man and they'd be, I've been married 40 years and he's loving on his wife and they're holding hands. What's your name? Can we go to coffee? Because whatever you have, I want it. Mm-hmm. Whatever you learned along the way, I need to know it. I sought it. And that's the thing. You have to be able to look in the mirror and be honest about where I'm at and where I actually want to be, and then try to surround yourself with those people who can help get you to get there. Yeah. Premarital counseling is just that. That's the counseling so you understand what marriage is before you get into it. But then there's marriage counseling. And I don't know any marriage that will survive without counseling. Mm-hmm. Somebody who has, if you think about a Christian marriage counselor, they've gone to school, they've studied relationships, they studied emotions, they studied the science behind it, and they're good at sitting and listening and giving you tools to be able to go back and to work on your marriage. Yep. Get the help that you need, because we all need help when none of us are supposed to do this by ourselves.
Yep. And hey, I want to say this to you. There's nothing happening in your marriage that's not common to marriages.
Yes,
absolutely.
There's somebody that's been there, done that before you, and there's someone that we can connect you to help you move forward in your marriage. So don't stay hidden. Don't stay behind closed doors. And I would say this to you, maybe you're a married couple and you don't have kids, and there's the pressure of that because you got people always asking you, hey, how many kids you got, all this kind of stuff. And that can be a weight and a pressure on your marriage as well. There's a ministry called Legacy Place Retreat that can help speak into that. The very tremendous ministry. I know that personally because my daughter and son-in-law pastor that ministry. And so they've got some great tools and resources there for you. Winning at Home is another one for marriages, Legacy Place Retreat. And then just, hey, call out for help. We can connect you with somebody that can help you move forward. So hope you've enjoyed today's podcast, and stay healthy.